Hi and welcome. Um, this is the first live video we're going to be doing in a series of videos teaching you about assisted living, opening an assisted living. Um, and we're here to answer questions you might have. My name is Calais Stockstill. We run a big training site called My ALF Training. You might know that. And we help people buy and sell assisted living facilities. We help them get their administrator license, become administrators, and we've helped hundreds and hundreds of people do this. Um, so, if you're here, welcome. Say hello in the chat. Ask a question. So, we get a lot of calls from people that want to open an assisted living facility or get into the business, and we try to put out a lot of information for free because we don't want people getting into the business that shouldn't get into the business, or will go through the process really far in and realize like it's just not for them. So in a free video we did previously, is this business right for you? I'll summarize it a little bit, but basically, assisted living is a serious business. It's not. A lot of people go to these seminars and they think they can just open them up all over the place and put managers in them, and that's not true. If you call me and you want to buy a facility that we have for sale, and you just think you're going to be an investor, and the residents are the same as like a renter, they're not. The people that are in these facilities need a lot of help, a lot of supervision, a lot of care 24 hours a day. You have to manage the operations, manage the staffing. And a good analogy would be the hospitality business. So if you wanted to get into the hotel business, hospitality business, it can scale from a small bed and breakfast all the way up to a Marriott or a Hilton or something like that. And it's so different, the two operations, right? Now you couldn't even include Airbnb in this, because Airbnb is like people rent your house for a duration of time. They cook their own meals. You're not providing anything except when they check out. There's no service involved. Whereas a bed and breakfast, there are services involved. There's meals downstairs or in the dining room. You might have a concierge or somebody who can tell people where to go. You might have events like weddings or things like that at your at your bed and breakfast. And an assisted living facility, a small assisted living facility, whether you're 6, 8, 10, 12, even I'd say up to 30, 40, 50 residents, the owner is going to be very involved in the operations. Over 50, you can kind of get into some professional management that would help you do the day-to-day tasks. But we've sold facilities where the owner was, even at 50 beds, was still going out to buy groceries, go to Sam's Club, and coordinating the schedules. So it varies. You can have a 30-bed facility that's like memory care. Okay, there's one in Orlando here. It's a 20-bed memory care standalone building, and they charge enough money that their 20 residents, at $5,000 is $100,000 a month in revenue. In that scenario, like, they have a very professional management team, even though they're only 20 beds. And so it really depends on the type of clients you're going to take care of, the type of area you're going to be in, and it'll vary on how much involvement you actually have. But as a general rule, if you're getting into this business, it's because you're going to be a hands-on operator. We even know of a large facility, over 90 beds, that is still very much owners involved. They may go there a couple times a month, but they're still up to date with what's going on. They got to approve purchases, come up with general strategies for marketing, or hire a firm like us that can help them to improve their business. If you're watching, if you don't mind hitting the like button, that'll help us get the video out to more people. if you like the content. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask it. So the question I ask to people when they call me and they want to get in this business, are you sure this business is right for you? And, when we got into it, we didn't have any healthcare experience. So it was a steep learning curve. And that doesn't mean you can't do it either. You can do it as well. But we were there on property, living on property, covering shifts if we had to cover shifts, literally running out to Walmart every 2 to 3 days, buying, Cheryl had shopping carts full of groceries. And we come back and we unload them and help put stuff away. At the same time, I'm strategizing on marketing, meeting families for tours. So even with 30 beds, it's very, very involved. And of course, we started with 6 on our campus, and we were able to grow it. But you deal with stressful situations. You deal with families that are dealing with the decline of their loved one, or a spouse that's dealing with the decline of their husband or wife. And it can be a stressful situation, but at the same time, you're truly providing a needed service for these people. My mom right now is going through this, where my dad needs a lot more help, and he was in the hospital. Now he's in a rehab, and it's such a relief to her that he's in a place where he's getting the professional help that he needs, the rehabilitation, and if need be, if he has to transition and he can't come home, we won't hesitate to put him into an environment that can provide him the care that he needs on a 24-hour basis. My mom can't do it. And it's extremely stressful for my mom to provide care to my dad, because he treats her differently. Maybe he's a little shorter with her or more demanding of her. But when he's around other caregivers, he's a little bit more polite and a little bit more patient and understanding. Also, in an assisted living facility, there's a lot more activities going on. Whereas if he's at home, there's nothing. He's got TV. He lies in bed and watches TV. But even the activity of going to meals 3 times a day is an activity in itself. And so it's really a positive thing and a positive impact that you can have on many people's lives. And so, 3 meals a day, he gets up, he's going to get the caregivers or whatever are going to help him get prepared for the day, get his medications, and then he'll have breakfast, and then there'll be a morning activity. So his day is full, whether it's music or bingo or something like that. And then he would go on to lunch, maybe a little break, and then go on to lunch, and then an afternoon activity. His day is full. So for people that are homebound and they're lonely and they don't have any socialization whatsoever, assisted living can be a fantastic option. And having done it for so many years and helping so many families, it was pretty positive experience. Now there's negative as well. Of course, you have the stress of running the business, making sure your beds are full, making sure the building is staffed properly, dealing with state inspections, compliance, billing. There's a lot of things that go on with it, but ultimately you're providing a service that is essential. And even during COVID, unless there was an outbreak in facilities, which did happen, all of them survived. They all are still doing strong. Some of them took a hit and then had to rebound, but they did get PPP funds and different ways that helped them get through those difficult times. Whereas, say, like an adult daycare center or other types of services, they shut down completely. There was no revenue. With assisted living, it's just continuous revenue. And so these are some of the positive of owning and operating an assisted living. I will tell you that if you're going to get into it and think that you can, in Florida, for example, you really want to try to get above 6 beds. It's very difficult unless you're in a very affluent area. I know people that are very successful with 6 beds, but it can be challenging with the finances, especially with labor costs going up. So it's not always easy, but it will impact your bottom line tremendously if you can get above 6 beds, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it is. And so let's say, for example, you only have so much money and you can't get into something bigger, right? Like Like right now we have an 8-bed for sale. You can buy an 8-bed. That's a big difference over 6. The extra 2 residents can provide you an extra $6,000 to $8,000 a month in revenue. So maybe you don't have enough. Maybe you look at bringing in a partner. Maybe you look at starting a little bit bigger. And I think those are things that, even though you may have to share in the profit in the beginning, it's going to set you up for success going forward. Because yes, you can just go get a house and you can turn it into assisted living, but ultimately you still have a lot of the costs that go into it. Buy the house. It's very hard to rent a house right now. So renting is usually out right now in this economy because rentals are very short. So if I have a house for a house, do I want to lease it to somebody that's going to run a business there and have to install fire sprinklers and fire alarms and have extra liability? Maybe if I could get a bigger premium, I could. Those are things that you need to explore. When you get to that stage, you can kind of look at renting versus buying. But ultimately, if you're going to get into the business, you have to acquire the piece of real estate. So unless you're going to use your own personal residence, you're going to probably need to come up with 20% down. Now, the easiest thing to do is use your personal residence. And a lot of people always say, well, but I live here. Yeah, you can live somewhere else, right? And the bank will, if you move somewhere else, the bank will give you a loan for almost 3%, 5%, very low down payment if it's your personal residence. But if it's a business, they're going to want 20%. So the house that you're in, if it kind of fits the criteria of maybe single story in a good location, you can start to do the things that you need to do in the house that you're in. And that would save you a huge amount of down payment. So you'll have your fire sprinklers and your fire alarms. Some cities don't require fire sprinklers, some do. Sprinklers can be a very expensive item, as much as $35,000. You need to price those things out. So I say getting into the business can be a different experience depending on the size of the business you're getting into. We have a friend that bought a 20-bed facility, one of our listings, didn't have any experience and is thriving in the 20-bed, got approval to go up to 40 beds. Now that definitely took a bigger investment, but it makes for it provides you with more, the residents have more people to socialize with. You can have staff that can help cover shifts if need be, creates a more festive environment for activities. So bigger can be better. Small homes I've had can thrive as well. So it's all in what you have available. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Any questions? I got a couple people watching here. Let's see, share. No. I guess I can't. I'll just kind of read along with the startup process. So how much can I afford for, what can I afford? Well, if you have experience in healthcare, then you can qualify for a small business administration loan. And that will allow you to purchase, it's easier to purchase an existing business with 10% down. That's the baseline lowest amount you can get into it with. So if it's a $800,000 business, you could get in with $80,000. Now, that sounds like a lot. A lot of people call me and they have $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, whatever it is. And if you have that amount, then you maybe need to look at different strategies, because if you just try to go buy a property and turn it into assisted living, it might cost you more than that. Like I mentioned, sprinklers, you're going to have the down payment to buy the building, the vacancy that you're going to have while you're putting all the safety systems in, while you're getting it licensed, while you're getting the health department approvals. So those things can take time, and those are going to add to your cost to open up. Whereas if you're doing it in your own personal residence or house that you live in, like you could buy a house, move into it, right? You get a residential loan, the bank, you're living there, but maybe your intention is down the road, you're going to turn into assisted living. So you can start to install the safety systems while you're living there. It's not vacant. You're paying your living expenses to live there. And you're able to, at the same time, prepare your building for assisted living, for licensing. So it could be, let's say a $400,000 house, and you can get into it with 5% down. That's $20,000. Maybe you can get into it with 3% down. That's $12,000. That's only if you're going to live in it while you're strategizing and planning your assisted living. Now, if you own the home, right, you don't need to do anything. You don't even need to go buy another home. You could start the process of converting the house that you're in. So you install those things. And then when you get it licensed, you still don't need to move out until the first person's ready to move in. And then you can buy your other house and move into it, or rent another house and move into it. People don't like to hear that because it's like, well, my family's here. But if you want to get in the assisted living business and you don't have much money, there's not a lot of options. If the economy changes, let's say we go into a recession and there's a lot of people that have extra houses sitting on the market, you might be able to find some good rental opportunities. It might change. You also might be able to find a property that already is set up as assisted living and you just want to rent it. We've had properties like that. They don't come up very often. You could find a property that's vacant that has all those safety systems that you could go and buy. Those things do exist. So what can you afford? I think the biggest question is how much money you have, and then to look at your options as far as buying an existing business, which in some ways it's cheaper to buy an existing business because it's already set up. All the residents are there. So the first day you close on the deal, you're going to cash flow and you're able to pay your bills. You're able to take a small paycheck or maybe a big paycheck, depending. So that's a good option. I mean, I've seen assisted living facilities, depending on the area, sell for $350. We have one for sale now at $425 with an existing business. So with a 10% down payment, you're looking at $40,000. We sold one in the Tampa area, and the person who took our training, who watched all these videos just like you, she bought it. It was only $250,000 at the time, and she was able to bring $25,000 and buy an existing business. She wouldn't have been able to open one probably without buying an existing one using a SBA government-backed loan. So renting versus buying, I talked about that. How much money can I make? A lot of people like to do simple math, right? They just say, I get $3,000 a bed. There's 6 beds, maybe $3,200 a bed. I'm getting $20,000 a month. Okay, the biggest piece of all of that is labor. So how are you structuring your labor is the biggest question. And you also need to factor in your mortgage payment, your house payment, your utilities, your food. It's not a very complex. There's not a lot of moving parts as far as costs are concerned. But with a single small facility, if you're getting $3,000, $3,200, and you work there as the administrator, and it's only 6 beds, you're probably looking at $50,000, something like that, $50,000. It's not a lot of work if you're not actually having to work the shifts. And so people say, well, I could get a second one. Yes, you could do that. Or you could be in an area where you're getting $4,000, which would be a big difference. But I still tell you it's not a guarantee. If you got into something that's 8 beds or something that's 10 beds, it's dramatically different, as you can imagine, because your costs are almost the same to provide the care for 8 residents versus 6 residents. And so it's mostly all profit at that point. So property taxes, labor costs. supply and demand. You got to check around your area that you're looking in, because you don't know how much you're assuming you can charge $4,000 or $4,500 or $5,000 or whatever that number is. But if you don't secret shop, go around and see what other people in that neighborhood and that market are charging, see if they have a lot of vacancies, you really don't know. You might be surprised. You might be estimating $3,000 and you go around and everybody's charging $4,000, $4,500 and they're full. So the simplest thing to do is to go and shop your market. Every market is different. I've seen people get high rates in bad area, low income areas. I've seen people get low rates in high income areas. It all depends on the type of care you provide, the type of clients you service, the facility, your reputation. A lot of things can vary. You could be only with state-funded residents where you're only getting $1,500. We've had that. So are you servicing memory care? Do you have nursing services that you can provide? Do you have a secure building? There are grants. I really don't know much about grants, to be honest with you. I've heard people get grants, but I don't think you can go into it planning on getting anything, because I rarely have heard. I have heard of somebody say they got a Black Business Investment Fund grant. Somebody else told me they wrote a grant proposal and got approved. But I mean, I'm not the expert at that. So maybe you can find other YouTube channels on that stuff. But ultimately, anybody have any questions? Ask me a quick question if you got a question. I just want to clarify, we do training. So if you want to become an administrator in Florida, you got to take the core training. Then you got to take a state exam. If you're outside of Florida, it's a very similar process. Each state has its own regulations, but for the most part, there's an administrator training. Some of them have internships that you have to do, and then some of them don't have any training. Some of them have reciprocal. There's a national program called NAB. Some states require NAB administrator training, NAB CEUs. Every state's a little different, but for the most part, every state, what the information that I'm providing it crosses over. They may call them different things. In Georgia, they might call them residential care facilities or something like that. Or California, they call them RCFEs, residential care facilities for the elderly. I'm sorry, Georgia, they call them personal care homes if you're under a certain number of beds. Well, let's see, Michigan calls them like home for the aged or something, some other terminology. But every state, you can do some sort of residential assisted living. In Florida, there's no different term. It's just called an assisted living facility. So Florida, you have to get your administrator license, take your state exam, find your building, 2 licenses, person that operates it, and the building that you're operating in. And we get a lot of calls. Florida's a little trickier because most cities cap a residential home at 6. And so if you are a caregiver, a nurse, willing to step in, cover shifts, work shifts, like you can do great in a 6-bed. I've seen people do good, but it is a little harder. So, give us a call, look at your options. So we help people with training. We do training in Texas. We have facilities in Iowa. We have facilities in South Dakota. We have facilities all over the place that do use our training program. And we sell assisted living facilities primarily right now in Florida, but we will be expanding that to many, many other locations. So if you're looking to get into the business, I'm telling you the shortcut to all of this is to buy an existing facility. They are hard to come by, though. They don't grow on trees. A lot of them are overpriced. You're not going to you won't get financing the way that they price it normally, other facilities for sale. And so that's the struggle. You can find them, but the seller's unrealistic and they think they can get cash for it. But nobody's going to step into an assisted living, pay cash and get a lower return than they could get if they could just buy a multifamily property. And so that's kind of what you're up against if you're trying to buy a facility. Now, So contact me if you're looking to buy a facility in another state, wherever it is. Let me know. We have a team of agents we're assembling that can help you find and navigate a good opportunity. So those are the two main things that we do. We do training for facilities for people getting into the business, as well for onboarding staff, and then facility sales. Now, another thing that we're launching, which we're really excited about, is marketing, because there's a big problem in in the assisted living business, long-term care business, with marketing. It's hard for customers to find facilities. It's hard for facilities to get their word out there. So we're developing a lot of tools and pilot programs that we're going to try to change the way facilities do business. So finding your residents, a lot of people ask about that. How do you find your residents? There is no short answer. I mean, there are services that can bring you residents, but there's no shortage of facilities for them to bring the residents to. You pay them a fee, a referral fee. But it's not like if you open and you contact them and say, hey, we're a new facility, they've got a lot of beds. It's not, they really want to bring people to places that they know and like and trust. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So anyway, finding business, it comes from everywhere. I think that you really just need to put yourself out there and be in touch with as many people in the community, Chamber of Commerce events, church bulletins, Facebook, social media marketing. Social media is not easy because they limit your advertising. You can do mailers. Mailers work really well. Over the long term, it's not an immediate impact. Open houses, events, networking within the industry is huge. Ultimately, you really just do a good job. If you do a really good job and everything that you say you're going to do when you start the business, and when people come and you do it and you exceed their expectations, and you ask for Google reviews and Facebook reviews, and they tell family and friends, it's a slower process, but word of mouth is probably the most powerful way to get your business. Does anybody leave a quick comment? Can you hear me? Do you appreciate this live feed? I mean, I've been going on for 30 minutes now. Let me know. Am I wasting my time? Let's see. Right? When you take out a business loan, there's usually working capital that also helps you get and make improvements in the thing. So there's a lot of things you can do. I've rambled on now. It's been 30 minutes. This is the Open and Assisted Living Facility show. Subscribe to the channel. Please hit the bell so you're notified when I do post these live videos. I'll try to do it once a week starting out, and come back. I'll probably do another one next week. Probably not Monday. Mondays are a little busy for me, but maybe next week Tuesday or next week Wednesday. This Thursday, Cheryl and I, we have a client that has hired us to help them turn their business around. And so we're going up there. So we're going to try to add some content about that. Should be fun. We're staging the room, trying to make it bright and airy. So that's all I got for now. Thank you all for joining. Like I said, please hit the like button. It really helps. I'm giving this content away for free. We do sell a course. Eventually we'll have a book that you can buy, but we don't charge a lot of money. We're not trying to make a lot of money off coaching people into the business, because we are more so your partner when you're in the business, whether it's marketing, whether it's training, or whether it's selling a facility, buying a facility. That's really our main focus. But teaching people about the business, we don't need to hide things and sugarcoat things to get you excited and come to a seminar and we charge you $3,000 to $5,000 or $10,000. We have a friend that came to us afterward. He went to a seminar in Arizona, ended up giving them probably over $35,000 for information that we give for a few $100s in our training program, and eventually, a small amount for our book. So hit the like button, leave a comment, ask a question. We'll try to get back to you. My ALF Training, Calais Stockstill. Thank you very much for your time and have a fantastic day.